Hello everyone, it's me again, your friendly but cynical neighborhood interior designer. I'm Ashley, and this week we continue on our topic of spotting fake IDs in the market. I'm glad that some of you actually reached out to me and gave me encouraging comments. It's definitely helping me in refining my content and to improve my channel. If you haven't subscribed, then stop whatever it is you're doing and just bring your finger down to the bottom right corner and smash the subscribe button. Come, don't shy. Hit it, spank it. So in the last episode, I spoke about the 4 ways to spot the fake IDs. If you haven't watched it yet, go watch that here. This week, let's dwell a little deeper and expose these fake IDs until they cannot do any more harm to the society and to our industry. This week's episode is brought to you by the good folks at E-Light. Now, E-Light is the world-leading smart lighting brand with in-depth exploration in smart interaction, industrial design, and lighting experience. Now, if you're looking for lighting solutions, why don't you check out E-Light's products? They have a portfolio of smart home lighting products, including home furnishing lights, table lights, ambient lights, and smart lighting control products. Use my promo code here. I've dropped the link below so that you know where to go to get their products. I've been using them for the last 2 years, and they are the lights I use for my home studio setup as well. Okay, let's start diving into the subject matter before I get distracted again. Remember the last episode when I talked about getting DDs or asking if they use DDs in their work? Well, I found out that the industry is still filled with companies that do not use detailed drawings in their jobs. And these companies use a method where they make the clients go to the site and conduct briefings with all the subcontractors themselves, and they do the markings on the walls. Most of the actual work and the thought process is actually carried out by the clients themselves. So whether there is a PowerPoint here on this wall, or if there's a wall that needs a door opening, the designer basically is just there to ask some questions and look like they know what they are doing, when in fact they could be just as clueless as the clients. So, as a general rule, any real legitimate ID company or designer should provide you with the following when you start to engage with them. Now let me walk you through from the initial pitch to the handover process. Stage 1, the design brief. Now before the design or some kind of price estimates can be obtained, you should make sure that you sit down with your family members, or if this is a commercial project, your stakeholders and team, to come up with a detailed set of requirements and function for this space that you want designed and renovated. Now this is a very important step, as the space has multiple users and many times certain compromises should be made beforehand so that you can deliver a concise and clear direction to your designer. At this point, if you have done that, then the designer's role is to listen, empathize, and note down all these requirements. For me, I have a system where I actually have a fixed questionnaire, and I use the same type of questions so that I stay on track and get a clear overview of the requirements. If you want to have a look at one of my questionnaires, I've also dropped the link in the description below. You can check it out. Now we are still at stage 1, and at this stage, it's important that you practice a 70-30 rule with your designer. This means that 70% of the discussion should be led and controlled by you, the client. If it is the other way around, then that is not ideal, because they will be selling and not listening. Remember this, any design process must start with a context or a basis. Form always follows function. It is important to articulate the functions first, and beauty will follow. In this stage, and if yours is a home design and build project, you can also sound out things from designer by asking if they are home owners themselves and whether they have renovated their own homes before. Now, red flags if they suddenly react awkwardly or give you some dumb excuses. Remember that I spoke of empathy. Empathy is the ability to put yourself into the position of the other party and consider things. A major necessity for a good designer is to have a high level empathy. So if your designer does not have certain life experiences like home ownership or home renovation, then it should be something to consider about, because they may not be able to carry the work beyond the design stage. Stage 2. So after the design brief, it should move into the pitch. Pitching is when the designer has to take your design brief and requirements and manifest it into the design intent. Typically, they should do a mood board and it should look something like this. These mood boards usually cover things like the look and feel of the space, the color schemes and the materiality. In consideration should also be the features like storage, functions, etc. And with these, it should always come with a scaled layout plans. Now I come from the old school where we are trained to draw by hand, so don't be surprised that the plans could be hand-drawn version. But what is more common today are plans that are drawn using the computer-aided design software like AutoCAD. Now if your plan is neither hand-drawn or CAD-drawn but by Adobe Illustrator or by Photoshop, then to me, that is another red flag. Plans are essentially blueprints of the space, and the scale and proportion are the most important aspects of the plans. If these plans are not drawn using proper CAD, then there could be issues with scales and measurement. I would also take it as an indicator that there is no investment in the CAD software nor a drafting team to churn out these drawings. So at the presentation of the mood boards and plans, look out for at least these few things. Number 1, the mood board should at least cover areas that are critical or consist of the main bulk of your investment. A general rule of thumb for home projects should be the living, dining, kitchen and master bedroom. Ideally, the more the merrier, so that you can have a clearer picture. Some firms may choose to present past project 3D drawings or even straight away produce 3D drawings specific to your projects to score points. Now this helps, but it's not advisable as it may be getting you all emotionally inspired and triggered and may cause impulse buying. Number 2, for plans, ask to see at least a furniture layout plan and also the ceiling plan. This will be a quick check to determine if they are capable of understanding the lighting of the space in conjunction with your furniture placement. If their drawings don't match out well or lack an understanding about the amount of lighting needed in a space, then to me that's also a red flag. Oh no. After which, look out for the size of the drawing and the scale used for the drawing. Usually the professional ones will have it printed in A3 size and use a 1:50 or 1:75 scale to fill up the A3 paper. Alternatively, they could have it on an iPad or a tablet to view. But the best is still a printout, so there could be notes and markings drawn directly on the printed drawings. The quotation starts after the design intent is more or less set or finalized with all the materials explored. Now, if the designer is able to produce a design fee first and not a quotation, that means that they want to separate the design fee and the renovation fee separately. Now, in many parts of the world, this is a common practice, where a client will engage a designer to ding dong all the design work first, finalize the function, look and materials before getting prices for the renovation work. What this does is that the designer will explore the full potential of the space and the materials. The designer is sufficiently remunerated so that he or she doesn't have to find sneaky ways to make more unfair profits from the project. Unfortunately, because of the competitiveness in Singapore, we find that this practice is not widely adopted. But more and more real ID firms are adopting this strategy because clients are also receptive to the idea of this paying method for design and deconflicting the scenario where you are the designer and builder at the same time. But if your service provider is a design and build company, then they will lump everything into the contract or quotation. As we are on the subject of identifying real designers versus fakes, I shall not comment too much on renovation and its contract methods. But I do want to share that typically your quotation should be itemized, be as descriptive as possible in terms of dimensions, type of materials, and the payments should be fair and progressive. My red flags will rise whenever I see almost full payment before any major work is done. No. The financial burden of the project should be funded by both parties. This evens out the risks and responsibilities on both parties. Now just imagine your service provider collects the bulk of your payment on the pretext of funding your projects, when in fact they have credit terms with their contractors. Your risk factors increase exponentially. Stage 4. The project begins, and as a proper practice, there should be schedules and weekly updates at site to go through things physically. The designer should have produced a full set of details from all the plans as well as to the customized carpentry. If none of these exists when your project begins, then anything that can go wrong in your site will definitely go wrong. Now let me just share very quickly the amount of detailed drawings we produce on our site before any work begins. Now this offers clarities for all parties involved and does a good job in managing the expectations of the customers. Without it, and just based on the 3D visuals, a lot of details are left to the imagination and to their own interpretations. Many of the fake designer firms I know of hardly go to the site and leave the spot checking and troubleshooting to the clients. To them, after the sale is conducted and confirmed, they move on to the next prey and only respond to site matters on a need-to basis. Proper design entities do not do firefighting. They prevent fires from arising. This is a metaphor to illustrate how frequent site meetings with clients and contractors will ensure good expectation as well as site management. Now, if you visit your site and find little to no involvement from a designer, then to me, that's another red flag. Oh, no. Many of the firms will talk about opening a WhatsApp group chat to conduct discussions and to highlight matters pertaining to the renovation work. Let me emphasize that at best, it is only a communication tool. It hardly qualifies as a project management software. Site management is always about identifying issues and taking actions to correct issues. You cannot replace physical involvement and ownership with communication tools. The handover stage is a very important stage for both parties, as it is when the designers try to conduct a site walk around and both parties identify works that still need improvements. I've seen how these fake IDs just walk around with their clients and where they're identifying defects without taking down notes. At best, they'll take photos and try to remember what each photo means when they go back to the office. No. So a proper practice should be a physical visit to the site, document via writing and photos of the said defect and place a sticker on it so that it is easily identifiable when you visit the site next time. Other than defects, the correct practice is also to produce the finalized drawings for the clients to safekeep. We call these the as-built drawings. Now this is a useful and necessary reference kit for the clients to refer to if they need to do any maintenance work on the site later on. In the course of the renovation process, there will be modifications and changes. It is quite normal, but without an updated set of drawings, the change is not going to be reflected and documented. This becomes a problem if you are not aware of any water pipes that are running specific to some parts of the walls and you decide to drill a hole through it because you want to hang a painting on that wall. That is going to cause a serious plumbing problem. Now I realize that as I do this video, there are more and more things that are just not right about the industry and as well as malpractices. I thought I could cover them all in 2 episodes, but now I know this cannot be done. This list will continue to grow as long as there are customers who succumb to cheap pricings and fancy salesmanship. Together we can make a difference. If there is no demand, then there will be no supply. If we tell them that it is unacceptable and you refuse to be engaged by their terms, then drop them. They will learn to shape up or have to ship out. Together we can make a difference. So subscribe, like, leave a comment, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye bye.